even if I had $1 billion right now, winning the lottery, I would still do exactly what I do today.
Yeah. Welcome everybody to Adams Polish's Shop Talk, our podcast about anything automotive related. Today we have Talon Sei here. He's one of our sponsors and just a great friend here at Adams Polishes. And actually, we just finished up doing a video with him. We ceramic coated his whole van. So pretty big undertaking, but
Huge undertaking. I was surprised how quickly you guys got through it, but I mean, with you and Tyler helping out, I can't wait to get this thing outside and actually get it wet and dirty, which is weird to say, but
Yeah.
I'm my first vehicle that's ever been ceramic coated, and I'm excited to see the longevity that I get out of it.
You essentially like build travel vans and you work with different sponsors and things, but
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about this rig specifically.
So I guess even before that, I used to live out of a Sprinter van. I was saving up for a house at the time, and kind of at the start of COVID, I was like, quit my job. Instead of buying a house, I'm going to get a Sprinter van. Lived in that for a while, built a lot of friends in the industry, and now, like 4, almost 5 years later, I've partnered with a lot of cool companies, Storyteller being the main builder of this van. So this is one of the newest Storyteller models. It's a Storyteller Classic mode built on a 2023 Mercedes Sprinter chassis.
Wow.
144, 4-cylinder, twin turbo, all-wheel drive.
Crazy.
There's a lot of stuff going on with it, and
That's
we can
cool.
talk about it as much as you want.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I want to do is obviously you see the van, super cool, but I want to jump in the van, get a little more comfortable and do our thing.
It's like home in there, so let's do it.
Cool with that?
Yeah, let's
All
do
right,
it.
let's go. All right, we're in the van.
This is it. Welcome to my home on wheels.
Yeah. It's almost like you could live in this thing.
You could, yeah. You got all the functionality, sink, fridge, shower, lights. I mean, it's a house on wheels for sure.
So cool. So, okay, tell me, how did you even get into this? Like, what were you, like, you haven't been doing this as a full-time gig forever.
No. Yeah, so kind of background on me. I'm full-time content creator on YouTube now. Kind of started my own business, but I started growing up in Eastern Pennsylvania. That's actually when I first found out about Adams. I've been using Adams products for like 10 years on sports cars and things like that.
Oh, wow.
Went to Penn State, graduated. I was an IT consultant for about 5 years, and I was consuming a ton of YouTube. And I didn't even start making videos thinking like, oh, this could be a career. Like, I know at the time people were doing it full time as a career. I didn't understand the business side of anything with YouTube. So I just started making videos on my own. I challenged myself to do one video a week for an entire year. And then next thing you know, 2.5 years later, I was making more money for myself creating videos than I was at my job.
Wow.
So I was traveling the country as an IT consultant. I would basically have like a blow-up mattress in the back of a Subaru Crosstrek. I would drive into a new city, rent a 200 square foot studio apartment, and I would set up shop there for like 6 to 9 months.
Wow.
So I began living very minimally because of that. And then really jumping forward into the point where I'm making more money for myself. I was able to quit my job. I was like, sink or swim. This is my opportunity to try something for myself, and quit my job. Had money saved for a house, but with all this newfound freedom and already living pretty minimally as it was, I was like, I'm going to buy a van. And this was right at the tipping point of like camper vans and van life.
What year would this be?
I quit my job in June of 2018.
Okay.
June 15th.
What kind of van was it?
My original van was a Winnebago Revel.
Okay.
Pretty new at the time. They started in 2018. So mine was built on the 2018 chassis, but it was a 2019 conversion.
Okay.
I went with that van specifically because it had everything that I wanted as a turnkey option. Like, I didn't have to really modify it at all.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was going to do a custom build, you need a ton of money, ton of time, ton of patience, a lot of know-how to get that done,
Yeah.
which I'm into that. Like, I totally could build my own van right now, but at the time I had money saved. I just wanted to get into something and start traveling.
Yeah.
So started with that. And then I've owned that van. I still own it now for probably like 4.5 years.
Okay.
And I gutted the whole thing. I changed electrical system, plumbing system, suspension, lights. Like, everything that I'm doing kind of to this van now, but on a way higher level.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's 2018. Are you like, you buy that van and you're just like, I'm on the road making content.
Yeah, I bought the van. I did like one test trip where I went down to Georgia to do something. I made it out to here in Denver to visit some friends
Okay.
and then made my way back. That was maybe like a 2, 3 week road trip, just like standard road trip.
Yeah.
And then I started kind of like planning where I wanted to go, what I wanted to get out of like actually traveling full time. And then that was I guess towards the end of 19 was when I was like geared up, ready to go.
Yeah.
Hit the road, started with the 9 northeastern states. So I went up through like New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, and COVID hit.
Oh, geez.
So I'm in the van, gas stations, grocery stores are closing down. I'm like, damn, what am I going to do? So went back to my family's house in Pennsylvania, hung out there for a couple months until I realized that nothing was changing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm just going.
Yeah.
Like stuff, it's going to be, it was honestly a really cool time to travel because there's no traffic.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff, unfortunately, was closed. Like some national parks were even closed for a little
I
while.
remember that.
But I got to see the whole United States in a time that, like, hopefully we never see again. So it was
Crazy.
pretty unique. Yeah. Um, I left Pennsylvania, I think like maybe when was that? Mid early 2020.
Like what? Probably like April.
Yeah.
They kind of shut the country down like middle of March almost.
Yeah. So it was like right after that.
Okay.
And then I never went back to Pennsylvania. I went down the East Coast. I mean, I kind of like, there was no real rhyme or reason to why I went where I went, but I took that van to all of the lower 48 states, just kind of zigzagging around. I got a friend here. I got this event over here. And it was.
You have like a wanted ad out for you in Pennsylvania. They're like, you never
Yeah.
came back. What happened?
He never came back. I still have family there. I go and visit them occasionally, but yeah. And then I ended up here in Denver,
Crazy.
which is where I'm at now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Before 2018, were you making content about camping specifically, or did you start your YouTube as something different?
Yeah, I started just kind of like on the daily vlog type of kick.
Okay.
Since I was traveling and moving to different cities, and like I said, I was consuming a ton of YouTube. I was kind of watching like daily vlogger type of guys.
Yeah.
Basically, whatever I was interested in, I would watch it. So vehicle stuff, even like extreme sports, skateboarding, skiing.
Yeah.
And I just started my channel as like, hey, this is who I am and this is what I'm into. I would do like camera reviews, drone reviews. Some like electric skateboard content
Okay.
was big at the time. It's still kind of big, and then a little bit about at the time I had a 2015 STI, which I would autocross. So I did some mod videos to that, suspension, wheels, tires, whatever. Also just like outdoor stuff. So a lot of firearm content.
Yeah.
Which was a big part of my downfall on YouTube, honestly, with
Oh, really?
suppression and everything.
Weird.
That's a whole story in itself. But yeah, it was just kind of like whatever I'm into, I don't care if it's hot on YouTube or if it's not. I just wanted to put out videos of things that I was interested in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I like, if you watch any of my videos, it's not even a series. It's like the name of my channel is just Talon Sei. It's my name.
Yeah.
But like the videos I call Stuff and Things
Okay.
because it's a lot of topics. It's a lot of how-to, entertaining, informative stuff. I just kind of do whatever I want. A lot of my videos fall completely flat just because it's like, it's something that I wanted to produce and a lot of people might not be interested in it, but it's what I wanted to do. So that's why I put it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much of a transition was it, now you're kind of living on the road, was there a little bit of a transition period where you got really comfortable with it?
Yeah, there was a little bit early on, like that first quick road trip that I did. It really got me a feeling for like being on the road full time. I think one of the hardest things that like comes to mind is where do you park at night?
Okay.
So I was doing a lot of the typical, like watching videos, like what are other people doing? Walmart parking lots, Home
Yeah.
Depot parking lots, like stuff like that. But the more comfortable I got just living life out of a vehicle like this,
Mm-hmm.
then I really started getting off grid more.
Okay.
So with the modifications, I'm carrying 21 gallons of water. I had a huge array of solar on the roof. I never
Oh.
had to plug the van in or anything like that.
Wow.
So I would say towards the end of that, like living out of that van, I was spending close to 80% of my time or my nights in like national forest land,
Okay.
BLM land.
Yeah.
That's what really drew me out west. Just the public lands out here are so plentiful and drastically different than the East Coast where I grew up. So I've been coming out west since I was probably like 15 to ski and things
Okay.
like that. And yeah, it just drew me out here. So that's how I ended up kind of, I guess, getting comfortable living on the road, figuring out like how to get water, where it's safe to park.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm still learning to this day. I go through a lot of the country where I've already been, but occasionally it's like, okay, I know this road's going to take me into St. George. So I'm going to just go completely off route and just check out some new little pockets that I've missed.
Yeah.
It would be cool to see a map of like the United States of where I have actually been and driven, because it would just be like a huge spider web with a lot of nodes of me like crossing back over the paths
Yeah.
time and time again. That's how I landed on Denver, actually.
Really?
Yeah, so built a house here like a year ago, started building the house, and I just kept coming through here. It's so central to the East Coast and West Coast. It's kind of like, it's not perfectly center of the country, but I don't want to live in Kansas or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
where there's nothing. So
Well, it's central to like mountain. I mean, I feel like you can get any kind of terrain from here. Head south to more deserty area. Head north to like even more mountainous, colder, snowy
exactly.
area. But
Yeah, so that's kind of why I ended up coming through here. A lot of cool businesses here in the outdoor space. I had a lot of friends in the area from college and just people I've met on the road.
yeah,
So this is it finally feels like home to me, which is cool.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Dang. So getting into like your overlanding vehicles, obviously you said first one was like a Winnebago.
Yeah.
So how many from that first one? Like what number is this new one? Because you got this one about a month ago.
Yeah.
So how many have you had kind of in between? And talk about like the progression from that first Winnebago to like where you're at with the Storyteller one now.
Yeah, so I understood the concept of overlanding, which is mainly about vehicle-based travel, and it's mostly focused on the travel rather than like camping.
Okay.
But I love camping. I grew up camping too. So I bought the van not really in the mindset of like, oh, this is an overland vehicle.
Okay.
But the more I used it and the more I modified it, the more it became very good as an overland vehicle.
Okay.
Given that it's a huge 10-foot tall, 10,000-pound van.
Yeah.
So did that for the longest time. And then I would say the second vehicle that I actually built specifically for overlanding is my Tacoma.
Okay.
So after setting up shop here in Colorado, I actually started my business in Colorado. I got an office space and was living out of my van, kind of working out of there before my house was even built. And then I had my van, and then my like daily driver was a Subaru Crosstrek that I was traveling in, and that had like a lift and wheels and tires.
Oh, that's cool.
It was just like it's what I took up into the mountains in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So I didn't need anything crazy. And then it got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm in Colorado now. I need like I want to explore further, and a Subaru is not going to cut it for where I want to go.
Yeah, yeah.
So traded that in and bought a 21 Tacoma. Completely built that thing. Like it's pretty nuts. And that's why a lot of people know me now, just for vehicle based stuff. So you have like the van audience and then the truck audience.
Okay.
So do a ton of overlanding, like proper, in my opinion, proper overlanding in the truck, wild campsites all across the country. I mean, I've almost had that truck in every state at this point too, and it's only like a year and a half old.
Crazy.
Yeah, so I have a ton of different setups with that. I have a slide-in camper and a rooftop tent for the summertime.
And that one was like the rooftop tent was designed by you, right? Kind of.
Yeah, kind of collaboration effort between me and another local company, Free Spirit Recreation.
Okay.
So I became friends with them because they moved their headquarters from like Bend, Oregon down to here.
Okay.
So they're in Golden, and I tested one of their tents for a video, and they were like, "What do you like in tents?" And I was like, "Kind of want a clamshell." And they're like, "All right, test this out." It was just like kind of a white label tent.
Yeah.
Like, test this out and tell us how we can make it better. So that project finally came to fruition, but that was like over the past year.
Wow.
Testing different tents, giving feedback, getting new prototypes. We ended up going through 3 prototypes and then the final version, which we're calling the Aspen Light.
Okay.
And then I have my signature version of that, which is just like Sei branding. It's all black and orange, like everything
Wow.
in my life right now.
Yeah.
It's kind of my color scheme with my own camo and things
That's
like
cool.
that. So yeah, Tacoma was the second like purposely built overland vehicle.
Okay.
And then that brings us to the Storyteller. I had posted so many videos with the previous van, so I kind of made a name for myself in the overlanding van space.
Okay.
I mean, there's so much to talk about, but essentially, I'm taking their base model on the Sprinter chassis and jumping straight into building it to how I like using a vehicle like this.
Okay.
So I mean, my previous van took 2 years to build kind of to the point that it's at now.
Yeah.
And jumping into this, I know exactly what suspension and tires and wheels and lights. I knew what I wanted to do to this van
Yeah.
because I've lived it for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
And like it's really cool to have this opportunity because back in, I guess, 2018, 19, when I started building the last van, there wasn't a whole lot of support out there.
Yeah.
And then over the years, I mean, the very next year in 2020, they released this chassis, like
Okay.
the newer body style and stuff like that. So all of the companies who I was buying parts from kind of shifted their focus to the newest chassis. So now I'm with this old dinosaur of a van, which is like, it's still supported, but not supported like a new vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of fell off with like, I didn't have many options. Now on this new platform, working with Storyteller and all these other partners, it's all new. Like new engineering, new design, new materials. Like there's just, it's just like anything. I
Yeah.
mean, you're looking at the aftermarket support for any vehicle.
Yeah.
You look at it 5 years from today and it's going to be like, why didn't that exist back then?
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting. You were explaining some of this stuff and like just the part where you're sitting here right now, showing like how modular it was.
Yeah.
And you were saying like, gosh, my old van didn't have anything like this. It's cool to see the progression. It seems like, during that kind of COVID, I don't know if we want to call it the COVID era or what, but
Yeah.
like if this sort of lifestyle exploded, it seemed like. So it's like, it seemed like all these
yeah.
companies are like, we got to jump on this.
That was another thing too. Like because of that whole era, people were getting laid off or working from home, and then they're like getting that taste of freedom, and they're like, what can I do with this freedom? Traveling around the country sounds cool.
Yeah.
So that exploded the market, which exploded the aftermarket support.
Yeah.
So I mean, being in this now is like, it's like kind of a dream for me. I can do exactly what I want with these super cool companies and new products, and just kind of get the best of the best right from the jump without having to constantly modify and change the vehicle.
Yeah. Obviously, you're one of our sponsors, and we did the ceramic coating on your car, which is going to be functional for you.
It's going to be a huge help.
Yeah. But I think it's cool that you can, it's almost like you're I don't even know how to say it, an indirect R&D resource for companies almost,
Yeah, that's kind of how I like to work my relationships, like with my partners. Especially even in like the vehicle space, there's these companies who I really don't work with a company unless I truly love their product and would like spend my hard-earned money on.
Yeah.
And then luckily when I like my previous van, I bought everything for that van. Like any product that I thought was good and useful, I would invest in that. And then because of that, I would make videos on the products, and then the companies are like, oh, hey, this guy is a customer of ours and he's like pushing our product, like talking about it to hundreds of thousands of people. Like we should see what this guy's about.
Yeah.
So then those just strictly customer business relationship turned into like hanging out in person at all these events and becoming like homies. We're all friends.
Yeah.
And then that's what's cool about this project too, is like I know what products are good and what I want to personally use in my vehicles. So having the opportunity to build out a van like this storyteller, it's very easy.
Yeah.
A lot of people think a lot of what I do is very easy, but they don't realize that I put in the work for 4 years before to get to the point where I'm able to do things like this.
Yeah. It's extremely thoughtful.
Yeah, there's a lot of misconception with that. They're like, oh, everything is just handed to you. YouTube's so easy.
Yeah.
I mean, you create content all the time. You know how it is too.
It's a grind for sure. Yeah. Because I've watched a few of your videos. It's like a very honest take, you know, versus
Thank
like
you.
going directly to the company where they develop something and they got to push it,
Yeah.
you know, to get a return on their investment of releasing a new product.
Mhm.
You know, it's like, and I think like Adams Polishes releases a lot of new products, and you know, I think the fortunate thing for me is I believe in it because I see all these products as tools, but
Yeah.
it's almost like it feels more honest when it comes from somebody else, because it's not like the company's like, you should buy this.
Yeah, and that goes back to what you were saying too. Like companies kind of use me as like an R&D type of thing,
Yeah.
and that's across all industries. But speaking of like the car industry, I'll have like brand new products. Like I mean, these window covers, these are new, and I've been like using them and testing them. I think they might be available on their website now.
Okay.
But it's like things like that, like because I've developed an actual physical. That sounds weird. Physical relationship.
Yeah.
An in-person relationship with these companies.
Yeah.
They trust me to like give them feedback.
Yeah.
So if these sucked, I would tell the owner of the company, be like, hey man, like this needs some work. But also I would say that on video too.
Yeah.
If you look at the tent project that I just talked about,
Uh-huh.
I was very hard on the tent because it's like I don't think anyone has ever been so transparent when it comes to developing a product like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, this sucks, this has to change or go. But then I'd be like, okay, this is pretty good. It could use a little tweaking. Keep this exactly how it is. So in real time on video, I'm giving my feedback and kind of like, I just feel like that's important to really showcase the design and the thoughtfulness that goes into products, whether it's new Adams Polishes products or if it's like a new mattress in a van. Like I feel like the second I become a shill, as a lot of people like to call it, where like people are paying you to say things, I could just never bring myself to do that because I mean you could see right through it.
Yeah.
I feel like the people who truly watch my videos, if I was getting paid to say something, they'd be like, why is he like pushing this so hard?
Yeah.
Like, how do you manage that when, like, what's one of your favorite Adams products?
It's really hard for me to answer that because I
There's
see
a
our
million
products. Well, yeah, we have so many products, but I also, it's like, I see our product line as a toolbox. You know, it's like, is it a wrench or is it a Phillips screwdriver or is it a flathead screwdriver? It's kind of how there's purpose to each thing for me.
Okay.
But I would say, you know, like, one of my favorite products is like the spray coating. I talked about it a lot when we were doing your van because I personally like it so much because you can coat things that you otherwise couldn't with the smaller bottle. You know, like I was coating your suspension and the fender wells and all these, like the grill and all these other things by just spraying it on there and evening it out. But, you know, it has a very specific function, but I can't really use that unless I've used the clay bar or washed it first. You know, there's so many things leading up to using that product. I'm like, it can't be just my one favorite, but a lot of the all-in-one type of products I struggle with. Yeah. Because I just don't think there's one that does everything.
But that relates perfectly to like the tool comment that you made. Like you could use one of those, in my opinion, dumb like ratchets that has like a T head and it like flips around to all the different sizes, or you can get a ratcheting open end or something.
Yes.
It's like that tool will be good for someone who wants to not spend a ton of money, but it's not for you.
Yeah.
So I feel like because you look at the products like tools, which in my opinion they are too, just like we talked about before, camera gear, like my camera is just a tool
Yeah.
to do what I do. You don't really run into that, like this guy's pushing it too much type of mentality,
Yeah.
because you're very, I mean, we've only met like briefly, but level headed, and like you have a reason and methods to why you do what you do, why you pick which products that you
Yeah.
pick. So,
Well, and I mean, before I really got into detailing, I was like you. I was a video guy, like creating content. So, and guess what? When I first started, this was back in like 2012.
mhm.
The best zoom lens was a 24-70. Now it's a 24-105. But
Mhm.
back then, I was using all prime lenses. So,
Yeah.
like again, tools in your tool belt. It was like, do I want the background to look nice and big and the picture to look flat? Well, grab the 85 millimeter or the 100 millimeter, you know?
Yeah.
Or do we want to show more stuff in the frame? We'll grab the 24, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite in that sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you could ask me any question like that about a lens, and it's just so situational.
Yes.
And that's for everything too. Like a lot of people see like the different vehicles that I use to make content. They're like, which one's better? I'm like, well, how long do you have to talk? Because that's a 4-hour conversation.
Yeah.
You're talking price and functionality and just so many factors that go into
Yeah.
it.
Do you ever feel like you're in the city for too long? Like, do you ever get like anxious or like you're like, dude, I need to take a trip? You know, like what? Explain that feeling to me, because you're getting out in places that a lot of people don't necessarily make it to. You
Yeah.
know?
I don't think it's like a very city versus like out in the wild type of thing. I feel like I get more of that like itch to travel just from becoming stagnant.
Okay.
So like I was just on a big trip in this van. I was on the road for about a month, and then I've been in Colorado since I think I got back like this past weekend.
Okay.
So I'm here this week, catching up on things, shooting videos, and like working. I'm gonna be here all next week as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like about 2 weeks in one spot, especially if I'm not doing anything, like if I'm not really busy with work, that time is shortened. But by the time next weekend rolls around, I'm gonna be like, okay, I can't wait to like get out and get a change of scenery and just
Yeah.
kind of explore more.
Yeah. Do you think does that make creating content remotely like more fun for you?
Yeah, I think I guess that is probably why I kind of have that desire to travel more, because like I could film all of my videos in Colorado, but
Yeah.
it might not be boring to the viewer for someone who isn't around the Rocky Mountains and exploring all of these cool places. But for me, like the redundancies of using the same filming locations and stuff like that, it's just personally, I'm just like, I need something different. So if you took all my videos and like cut out the highlight clips, I actually have a video I can show you when we're done here, but it goes from like crazy snowy conditions up in the Pacific Northwest to like crazy hot desert down in Baja, Mexico, to like even indoor filming. I film indoors sometimes too. And then, yeah, I feel like I force myself to travel because I feel like it makes my job, it makes what I do better.
You have any like underrated areas, spots that you're like, dude, you have to go check out? You
I
know.
I hate giving locations, because I really don't give locations.
Okay.
Mainly camp spots, because like I will never give a camp spot unless I like know you personally.
Yeah.
Because I have talked about where I was on video in the past, and then I show up there again like a year or two down the road and it's trashed.
Oh.
Becomes too popular because more and more people find it,
Yeah.
whether it's through me or not.
Yeah.
And then it's just I'm very much into like the leave no trace
Okay.
type of thing.
How about regions?
Yeah, so like one of the places that I would say is like, I mean, I love Colorado. That's why I live here now. It's centrally located. You have desert down south, you have plains out east, you have crazy Rocky Mountains out west.
Yeah.
So I would say like Colorado and Utah are probably my favorite states, because you cover so much different landscape in like what is it, 800 miles maybe from east to west.
Yeah. It's very accessible, like by road.
Very accessible by road too, but also if you want to really get off the beaten path, like you can get into some gnarly areas. Like if you have a capable vehicle.
Yeah.
Moab is one of my favorite towns and like the surrounding areas, and I always say it's because like kind of an adrenaline junkie a little bit.
Yeah.
And you have such a higher probability of dying in an area like that than you do anywhere else because the conditions are just brutal. There's no cell coverage. It's just a very hostile type of environment. It doesn't have to be. Like, you don't have to venture that far out, but I've gone on adventures there. Like, I rode the whole Enchilada. It's a like famous mountain biking trail there.
Really?
By myself. It was like my second time on a mountain bike, and it was one of the more like physically grueling things that I've ever done.
Crazy.
And it just, I don't know, I wasn't close to dying, but in the grand scheme of things, I was probably closer to dying in some of those situations than I would be anywhere else.
Yeah, doing your IT gig.
Yeah. Way more close to dying then. And like, yeah, it just gives me it gives me a better sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
Like working my 9-to-5 desk job never gave me true fulfillment because as an IT guy, you do your job, everything's fine. That's how it's supposed to work. No one gives you a thank you. You don't do your job correctly, everything breaks and you get like reprimanded and yelled at.
Yeah.
And then I was doing YouTube after my 9-to-5. I would post a video on like a camping flashlight.
Yeah.
And maybe 5 people would watch it and they'd be like, "Oh, dude, thanks so much for this information. Like, I've been looking at these lights." And I'm like, that to me feels so good.
Yeah.
I read all my comments to this day. Instagram, YouTube, I read everything,
So cool.
which is like, it's not typically a healthy thing, but I've balanced out the mentality and stuff like that. So YouTube just became more fulfilling than anything the IT world has ever done for me.
You know, Adams polishes is car care, but oftentimes you're fixing people's problems, you know, fixing swirl marks or, hey, my tires are browning. Like, how do I fix that? And a lot of our videos, informative videos, how-to videos help people with that. And I mean, you saw it yesterday, like a gentleman was here and he's like, "Thank you for all your video." I'm like,
You're like a celebrity.
I mean, it's like the most fulfilling thing that like I'm helping people do things that they want to do. You know, it's the same thing like you're saying. It's like,
here's a question for you then. When you jumped into the role of like being more of the face of Adams and like being on videos and stuff like that, when was the first time, I'm assuming it probably would have been like in the showroom, where someone kind of like fangirled? They're like, "Oh, dude, I watch all the videos. Like, you've helped me so much."
you know, it's funny. Like, well, first off, it makes me feel crazy uncomfortable because I am like just not that person. Like I genuinely am interested in like what people are doing. So usually when I talk to people, they'll approach me, but I'm more like, "What are you working on?" Like, I want to know what you're doing because I think it's really cool, you know?
And that'll help you give them better information when they're looking at product.
Yeah. But the first time actually, he's like a buddy of mine now, kind of. But his name's Doug, and I was actually at my local King Soopers.
No way.
And I like just walked in. I was like buying, I think it was like fruit or something in produce. And he was like, "Hey, you're the guy that does the Adams videos." And it was like really weird for me because my history with Adams polishes was doing what Chris is doing, which is being behind the camera. So like my initial thought was like, yeah, I shoot the videos.
How does he know that?
Yeah. And and he was like, "Dude, I watched one of your videos. It helped me so much." And ended up developing a relationship with him, and he helped me install hardwood floors in my house.
Awesome.
You know, so like that was the first time really like somebody recognized me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen often, but like it really is. I think one of the most special moments for me, I will just elaborate a little bit. I'm not trying to like boast about me or not, but it was
I
like,
think it's interesting.
We do a live video every Wednesday. It starts at 1:00 here in Denver, and I did the live video, and they asked me to come down from my desk, and I came into the showroom, and this guy showed up, and he's like, "Hey, I just landed here in Denver, and I watched your video before we took off." I was like, "This is crazy." And he was like, "You know, my son wanted to make a little bit more money for chores, so he started detailing our neighbors' cars, and the only way he knew how to do it was by watching your videos. And
That's awesome.
yeah, so him and his son started a detailing business. Now the dad does the paint correction stuff and the son does all the washing and everything else. And he is essentially teaching his son how to have a business, and it's going to be an asset for him the rest of his life, you know? And I'm like,
That gives me motivation to do more like how-to stuff because a lot of my stuff is like I'm kind of a gearhead. I like knowing the engineering behind how things work. So I definitely help people make an informed buying decision when it comes to whatever it may be,
yeah,
whatever I'm into. But hearing that like makes me want to even put out more information on, I mean, kind of like this, like my story. I get a lot of people who come up to me. They're like, "Oh, dude, you're such a like an inspiration. I've been following you for a long
yeah,
time. Like you're living the American dream, like doing what you want to do."
yeah,
But it's rare that actually, no, I guess it's a different type of learning experience. You're teaching like very specific techniques on how people can really start their own business. I kind of do the same thing by telling people my story about how I started YouTube
yeah,
and started my own business and stuff like that. But it's there's more. I feel like there's more direct answers when it comes to detailing than there is when it comes to content creation.
yeah,
Because what I do it's not gonna work for basically anyone. Like everyone's gonna have their own thing that works.
yeah.
Whereas putting out information on like detailing, I guess, is a little more.
Well,
I don't know.
it's interesting because you're either feeling something, you're providing skills that you could make money from,
Hmm.
right? So like you could start a detailing business by ceramic coating people's cars, washing them, or you're fueling like the OCD side of things where like I have to keep my car clean no matter what because
Yeah.
it drives me crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's like Adam talks about it a lot where it's like car care for Adam Patali, the founder of Adam's Polishes, is a total therapy session for him, you know, versus like that father and son is like he's teaching him how to run a business. It's
Yeah.
like a whole different thing, you know. So
Yeah.
you're living the dream in people's eyes. You have 100% total freedom in your life. You get to determine what you get to do,
Yeah.
and guess what? You get to make money doing it, which is like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think more people should kind of take a look at their work-life balance because like even when I was working IT, I made sure that I had a work-life balance.
yeah,
Unfortunately, a lot of people are in a situation where they have to work to support a family and this and that.
yeah,
Like, I'm not married yet. I don't have kids. I don't have a ton of responsibilities that other 30-year-olds have.
hmm,
So I had a really good work-life balance because I knew at my 9 to 5 job, I was completely replaceable.
yeah,
I could drop dead. They're going to hire someone for that position the next day.
yeah,
And I feel like if more people think that way, and I mean, without getting like political, but like the climate of how employers are treating employees in giant corporations right now, the economy has changed so much. Like it's hard to find a workforce like you used to, I guess.
yeah,
So like when I understood that I'm a very replaceable person and decided to put all of the pressure on myself,
hmm,
that's the utmost, like that's as much motivation as you could possibly have.
yeah,
I was like, sink or swim, I'm quitting my corporate job where I was making decent money. Like now it's all on me.
yeah,
I have to constantly be going and be shooting and doing all this stuff, or I won't eat. I won't be able to afford a car payment,
yeah.
insurance, like just normal life stuff.
I'm sort of in that like support a family thing, you know? It's like that was when I got married in 2012, we were my wife was pregnant with our son like within a couple months, and it was like, you know, you do the thing to support your family. I'm lucky because what I do at Adams Polishes is
Pretty cool.
super cool and super fun. I get to meet people like you, but you know, it is sometimes I'm like, it feels like a job. You know, as Chris, it's like, man, we got to shoot this today.
Mhm.
but
But
you think about the people you're helping, and it's like, I don't even care. This is like amazing, you know?
Yeah, I even feel like that too. I'm like, oh man, like I got to shoot this video today. I got to edit like 2 videos or whatever it may
Yeah.
be. But then I guess I'm pretty good at being mindful, like just taking a step back and going, I put this on myself. I could very easily go back to the IT world,
Yeah.
but I'm choosing to do this because of the freedom it brings me.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is a double-edged sword in when it comes to like work-life balance and things like that. But
Yeah.
the only other thing is hitting the lottery and not having to work, which would drive me insane. I couldn't imagine that, dude. I work more now than I ever worked in the past,
Yeah.
but it's stuff that I truly love and enjoy. So like, even if I had $1 billion right now, winning the lottery, I would still do exactly what I do today.
Yeah.
It'd
Well,
probably be a lot.
exercises your mind too, you know?
I wish, I mean, what I do as a career, like just say YouTube in general. YouTube is a small percentage of what I really do.
Yeah.
But if I could do YouTube, making videos, however I wanted, helping people, inspiring people forever until I'm his age,
Yeah.
I would absolutely love that. But unfortunately, like with how fast technology changes,
Yeah.
I'm kind of always thinking about an exit strategy. Like,
Yeah.
what is the next thing that I'm going to do in a business sense that will make me money and sustain myself and my future family?
Yeah.
One thing that I always like to talk about, especially for someone like you who's in like content creation, you can use this advice across all forms of businesses, whatever you do in your life, whether you're a marathon runner, mountain biker, whether you're an artist. I got this advice passed down through a bunch of people. I don't know who the direct quote came from, but it comes to different levels of doing your own thing, like being out there on your own, working for yourself. There's a beginner level, there's an intermediate level, and then there's a professional level. A beginner is going to be worried about the items, the materialistic things. Where if you're a content creator, it's like, I want to have the best camera, the best lens. If you're a detailer, I want to have all the crazy high quality ceramic coating from
Yeah.
Adams. Like I want to have this buffer and so on and so forth, which is good to an extent if you're trying to pave your own way. And then you bump up to an intermediate level. So you're a aspiring YouTuber and you're kind of seeing some traction. Then you get hyper fixated on the technique of things. It's like, is my lighting correct? Does the audio sound good? Is the framing good? So on and so forth. Is the editing right? Same thing with detailing. Am I applying this correctly? Like, are the swirl marks there? I need better lighting to see this. And then you kind of get hung up on that intermediate level. And then there's a professional creator, entrepreneur, business owner, detailer. You're really only worried about the end result. The products that you use, the cameras that you use, the whatever equipment you have is one thing. It helps. The technique is there. It's helpful. Definitely allows you to produce a higher quality end product.
Yeah.
But the professional is really worried about the end result. Is the customer happy with the job that I did?
Yeah.
In my case, is what I'm making fulfilling to me? Is it consumable? Am I relaying a message? Am I telling a story?
Yeah.
So when you're out there kind of trying to do your own thing, think about the different levels of like what I just said. And then the quicker that you can get through the first 2 stages and really focus on what your end goal really is, that's when you're going to see the most success.
Yeah. I personally feel like Adams Polishes does not sell car care products. Like we sell a shiny car, and all the things that help you get to that point are just tools to get you there. And so we talked about this a lot yesterday, but like everyone's version of a perfect finish on their car is different. Some people want a perfect mirror shine. Some people want the Colorado pinstripes from, off-roading on their car, but they just want their car to be easier to clean. So it's like you sort of have to ask yourself in detailing, what do I really want? And then like, it could be 3 products, it could be 10 products.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. But I'm always like, if we can help people feel what it's like to have what they want, whether it's a shiny car or an easier car to clean, that's what we sell, not all the products,
That's cool. Yeah, I never really thought about that. I mean, like subconsciously, I understand that for sure. Like the products that I am interested in for a vehicle like this that's off-road all the time, drastically different from like a sports car that I own.
Yes.
Sports car, I want to keep higher quality and keep it protected and have it nice and shiny. Like that's what you're selling. Here are the tools that you can choose from to get there.
Yeah.
Whereas protecting a vehicle like this is going to be generally a lot less products.
Yep.
Getting the result that I want though.
Yeah. You know, I know for sure Adams Polish has changed my life because I went from like the guy that never touched his car, and I cleaned the wheels one time, and I ended up spending 4 hours that day doing the rest of my car.
I remember my first time using the wheel cleaner too.
Yeah.
Just spray it on and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell that was on there.
Yeah. I'm just grateful that I got to meet you, first off.
Yeah, man.
And-
I'm glad I could come by too.
Yeah. And I mean, it was cool that we could do a video with you, like a little collaboration, but you know, I just appreciate you giving us some time to do this podcast.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I mean, love that I was able to meet you, and I mean, we've had great conversations on and off camera.
Yeah.
Just in the past few days, but it's cool that Adams is local to me now, or I'm local to Adams, I should say,
Yeah.
and can come up and visit, and we can do this stuff whenever, man.
Yeah.
I'm always down to hang out. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Thanks, dude.
yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Yep.